Our next candidate is Mike Gronstal, and Ingrid Olson is going to speak.
Good morning, I'm Ingrid Olson from Council Bluffs, a Senator Sanders National Delegate from the 3rd District. I am a Sanders Democrat, I'm a Wellstone Democrat, and I am a Gronstal Democrat. I drove over in bad weather and freezing temperatures to stand for a guy who for decades has stood for me, Iowa families, union workers, children, seniors, and all Iowans, especially those that haven't had a voice to speak for themselves. I'm here today to share some of my experiences of Mike Gronstal and why I support him for the chair of the Iowa Democratic Party. I know that Mike wishes he could be here today, but I will hope that you will respect the fact that Mike is a man who honors his commitments and he sees things through to the end. The first time I met Mike, our meeting didn't go as I anticipated. In December 2005, my then partner and I joined 5 other couples from across the state as plaintiffs in the marriage equality case. A few days after we filed our lawsuit in Des Moines, I heard Mike was going to speak at a local middle school. So I found my way to Kern Middle School in Council Bluffs to hear Mike speak, but to also thank him for his upcoming support in our quest for marriage equality. I put myself at the end of the line so I'd have the last visit with Mike. I introduced myself, but I wasn't quite prepared for the reception I received. Mike was frank with me and stated he wished he knew beforehand that we were filing our lawsuit on the day that we did. My understanding is Mike knew that our lawsuit was on the radar, but he didn't know the date, and he didn't feel prepared and perhaps a little ambushed. That said, he still shook my hand and wished us luck. I walked out thinking, crap, we pissed off the Senate Majority Leader. I felt as though it upset the very person who would later play perhaps the largest role in protecting marriage equality in Iowa and blocking a public vote. At the end of the day now, I know it was because of strategy. Mike is a strategizer and a planner. He attended every marriage equality rally and he put a target on his back for something he believed in and stood to suffer from in the public eye and politically. He stood unrelenting in our marriage equality battle. You see, I had everything to gain. Mike had everything to lose, just like our Iowa Supreme Court justices. But they were all willing to stand up for equality and due process, and at the end of the day, they all stood on the right side of history. Whenever I think of Mike, I think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." That's why I trusted Mike with my life, and I trust him to be the next Iowa Democratic Party chair. Mike fights for what he believes in. I know him as a fighter for union workers, seeing that all children have access to insurance and health care through the Hawkeye program, preserving a balanced state budget, protecting the rights of our state employees, and working to protect and preserve the quality of our rivers, lakes, and drinking water. Mike has been around a long time, but it's because he's weathered more storms than I would even care to imagine. He cares about people in the state of Iowa. He's a champion for the people. This fall, I knocked doors for Senator Gronstal in Council Bluffs. I knocked doors for Mike because I believe in him. I believe in the work that he does every day. And I would have knocked doors all day long if I didn't have to go to work. When I think of who I am and what defines me more than being a parent to my son, or other than being a parent to my son, the most important thing, like many of you probably in this room, 2 other things that define me in my core is the fact that I'm an Iowan and a Democrat. That's also what I think of when I think of Mike, a man who loves his family and is a true Iowan and Democrat. He exemplifies what it means to be a Democrat and Iowan. It makes me sad that Mike was defeated November 6th, but we all know what a horrible, horrible year for Democratic candidates it was across Iowa and across the nation. We know that only 6 counties in this state went blue in the general election. We even lost Dubuque for the first time in 60 years. Finally, as many of you know, and I introduced myself, I was, and I still am, a supporter of Bernie Sanders. That said, on November 8th, I voted for Hillary. Mike knows I didn't love Hillary, and I was not excited to vote for her. But Mike never held that against me, because he's fair. When people say Mike isn't progressive enough, or that he's been around too long, I say, and I quote Joe Biden, that's a bunch of malarkey. He's been a leader in LGBT rights, reproductive rights, healthcare rights for children and families across the state, and the Groundwater Protection Act. I call those things progressive. Mike has been all over this state and this country, visiting with all kinds of people like you and me to hear exactly what affects our daily lives. You immediately will be able to tap into candidates seeking to be elected at the local level up to the presidential level from all corners of our state and this nation, from all the connections he's made over the years. He also knows how to raise funds and knows how to network at a grassroots level. He's had to do that for years. I often joke that I'm missing the fear chromosome. Maybe that's why I was willing to drive over in bad weather, why I'm standing before you to ask for support for Mike Gronstal for the IDP chair. Like Mike, I feel as though my decisions may not always be the most popular, but at the end of the day, our decisions come from our core belief that we want this world, country, state, and community better for those around us. And I believe Mike is just the man to lead the IDP in the next chapter of our party's future. With that, I do thank you for your time this morning, and now please hear directly from Mike in this video message.
Hi, I'm Mike Gronstal. I've been in the state legislature for 34 years, and as you all know, we had a pretty rough election a few weeks ago, and I'm no longer going to be in the state legislature. I've also been finishing up my duties. I chair the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee. That's the organization that helps elect legislators across the country and take back chambers. And I am also president of the National Conference of State Legislatures, which is a bipartisan group that helps legislators figure out ways to work together and look for common ground. So I'm trying to get done with those duties and do that job well and finish it up, so I'm not going to abandon those, but that's why I can't be here today. So I apologize for that, but I wanted to let you know I am very interested in being the state party chair. I've been doing this political work in my life, essentially all of my adult life, and I'm excited about the opportunities that Democrats have. We have a great state central committee, and we have great people that understand campaigns and have lots of good ideas and new ideas about how we can do a better job in campaigns. So that's the reason I'm running for state party chair. You know, I became the minority leader back in 1996 after we went from the majority into the minority. And the vote to elect me as the minority leader, it's ancient history, so I can tell you now, the vote was 11-10. So we were pretty divided as a caucus. And job number one was to bring us back together, get us all on the same page, both message-wise and campaign-wise. And we succeeded in doing that and built probably the best caucus team in the country, and succeeded in getting tied and then a solid majority and then the biggest number of Democrats in the history of the state. And then we were able to withstand the 2010 campaign, the rise of the Tea Party. We kept the majority, we kept it in 12, we kept it in 14. And as you all know, we had a bad election in 2016 for a whole host of reasons, some of which we don't even know yet. We don't even have the data on who the new registrants were, but we've got to do a great job of analyzing what happened in this election. But the danger is often we learn the lesson of the last campaign, not anticipate the lessons of the next campaign. So I think we need to do a good job of reviewing those election results and then figure out how we can do a better job. I think I've got the skills. I've been effective at fundraising, and much of what we need to do requires funds to operate better grassroots campaigns. But I'll tell you, from the start, I've always believed that grassroots was the way to win campaigns. I've always been an organizer at heart. This campaign, I knocked on 15,000 doors. It's the most doors I've ever knocked on in my life. So going back 34 years, I've door knocked in every campaign. This campaign, I knocked on more doors than I ever had before. Well, you all know the results, but let me also say, my experience helping unite our caucus when we came out of a devastating election in '96, my experience of listening to everybody in the caucus, listening to everybody in that caucus, just as we need to listen to everybody in this state central committee to build a better election effort. And 2018 can be a very exciting year for us. In 1982, I was elected 2 years into Ronald Reagan's first term, and it turned out to be one of the most Democratic years in history. I was one of 28 new House Democrats to get elected that year in an almost hopelessly Republican district. I know campaigns, I know grassroots, I know how to raise money, and I know how to listen, and that's what I want to do. So I hope you have a great meeting here today. And I encourage any of you that want to talk with me. Again, my duties of my old jobs takes me away, but if you want to contact me, feel free. Call me at home, and I think you all have that contact information. I've shared it with the party.